People often think that that's the only option that they have.
Do you think people are scared?
I definitely think people are scared.
Why are people scared?
It's risk. And people don't like to take risks.
What is risk?
I think risk is something whereby you have to be able to step outside of your comfort zone in order to take it.
We're going to bring you a professional today. He's going to inspire you in terms of business and general mind coaching. The official title, I believe, if I'm wrong, he'll correct me, is the Mindset Coach. And remember, this podcast is all about mind, body, and soul.
No, thank you so much for having me on. So my name is Haseeb, Awan. And yeah, like you said, Mindset Coach, it's been something which I've been doing now on an informal basis, probably, for the last 10 years of my life. And, it's been a journey because I've been coached myself. I've been mentored myself. I've got a coach. I've got a mentor. I've got a guide. And I think it's something which is so useful, something which I took so much away from. And I thought now, it's time to kind of formalize it. So, I was doing it, for, like I said, for just under kind of 10 years. When I moved into kind of my working world and corporate side of things, I was doing it with my colleagues, with some people who are on my team, helping them secure promotions, helping people just generally, motivate themselves, change that mindset that people often have, which is, I can't do it. It's not possible for me. I can't secure that promotion. I can't succeed in my business. I can't, move further, or I can't start a business, for example. A lot of people have this kind of, the only thing that I'm ever going to be, and unfortunately, it's something which is kind of programmed into us that I'm going to be an employee for the rest of my life. I'm going to be an employee, and I'm going to earn my 9 to 5, and that's it. I'm going to do that for 40 years, and I'm going to get my pension, and then I'm going to relax. So people often think that that's the only option that they have.
Do you think people are scared?
I definitely think people are scared.
Why are people scared?
It's risk. And, people don't like to take risks.
What is risk?
I think risk is something whereby you have to be able to step outside of your comfort zone in order to take it. So that's how I would assess risk. So in order for me to, I'll give you an example. If I was, so you're a boxer or a boxing coach or whatever.
I'm more of a punch bag now.
So for me, I'd have to assess risk. It's a risk for me to get into the ring with you. Why? Because number one, I'd have to step out of my comfort zone. Number two, perhaps I don't have that training or I don't have that capability from the very beginning for me to either train or be in that situation. So for me, it's stepping outside of your comfort. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do it or it's not possible, but it's a risk assessment. You have to assess yourself before you're able to kind of take those kind of risks in your life. And that's what I find from people is it's a fear. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I don't succeed? What if I fail my exam? So a lot of people have failed before they've even started, and that for me is something which I really want to try and work with. Especially young people, older people, whoever it is, who have their whole future ahead of them. Because people are programmed in such a way that their mindsets are programmed in such a way that they feel as though I can't do anything else. I've become in a box. So for example, if, you work in a certain industry, in order for you to change jobs, right, it takes a massive step. And you have to step outside of your comfort zone because you're essentially telling yourself, can I even do something else? Is it possible for me? Is it possible for me to actually perform or do something else and bring a change in my life? And I think it is. And with the right mindset, with the right coaching, with the right mentoring for people, believe me, you can, the world's endless and the opportunities are endless for you. And that for me is something which I get a buzz out of. It's not about, I make money from it or I do this or I do that. Genuinely helping someone, someone who's stuck, career development, for example, something which I specialize in, helping people develop their careers, or helping people start their businesses or progress in their businesses, you know, that satisfaction that you feel that, gosh, you know what, that person has secured a fantastic promotion and you've been able to be a part of it, you know, in the sense that you're not the one who's writing the application. You're not the one who's you know, sitting in the interview. So it's all them. But all you've done is you've just given them that little bit of hope that I can do it.
You know, you said about people are scared to fail. What is failure?
It's a tough question. Everybody has failure, defines failure in different ways. I don't even like using the word fail. You know, I think, you know, you don't fail, you learn. And this is a very common statement which people make, that, you know, it's, you know, fail is such a kind of a negative word. But I think to some degree, a little bit of failure in your life or a little bit of learning opportunities in your life are extremely important. Because if you don't fail or if you don't learn in life, you're not going to know what you didn't know. Does that make sense? You're not going to know what you didn't know. And, you know, failure is something which is looked at so negative, right? And the negativity that people have around failure is that, you know, that's it. I'm a failure. I can't do anything else. It's not possible for me to do anything else in my life because I failed at this one thing. But, you know, like I said, you know what? With failure comes so much learning, so much growth opportunities. As I said, you learn things about, okay, if I'm going in this direction, I know I'm going to crash here. So maybe next time I'm going to go this direction and I'm going to bypass where my blockage is and I'm going to continue. So, you know, I think it's a bit of that understanding of, actually, it's okay to learn. It's okay to have a setback. It's okay to, and believe me, man, I've had so many in my lifetime. And, you know, thankfully I've been able to kind of learn from it and, you know, not let it get me down, because that's the worst thing that you can do. You know, you can not get your dream job. You can, you know, you can lose so much money in your business. You can, you know, have a terrible relationship with someone. But if you let that define you and you let that become you, this is why so many people fall into anxiety. So many people fall into depression, because they've just been consumed by one little thing. Think about all of the other things that you have in your life, which are successes. Think about all of those blessings that you have, which is bringing so much benefit to you and so much benefit to others. You know, failure and negativity is just a tiny dot. And our job, or my job, when I talk to these young people or when I talk to people and I'm formally coaching them and I'm mentoring them, is to help them erase that and say, look, you've got this tiny little dot here, but what about all of this treasure that you've got here? Why don't we focus on that? You make a mistake, fine. Learn from it, move on. And this has always been my advice. You know, don't dwell so much on the mistakes that you've made. People get consumed by, you know, oh my God, I failed an exam. That's it. My life's over. You know, I hear that so much. And I used to sometimes think like that, you know, when I was taking my exams at university, I think, oh my gosh, you know what? That exam, I think it went terrible. And, you know, sometimes people would have sleepless nights and think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? But guess what? You know, so many years later, you look back at that and you laugh, because you look at the position that you're in and you think, you know, I worried and I struggled and I had so many sleepless nights because of this one little thing. But guess what? It's all right. I'm still breathing. I'm still walking. I'm still being able to do what I can do.
Do you think that it's fair to say when you fail, it gets rid of some of your fear?
I think it affirms your fear and it confirms your fear. So when people fail or when people lose in something, it confirms the fear that they had. I couldn't do it anyway. And then they move on. Rather than sitting down and assessing, you know, what was the reason for it? You know, why did that happen? Instead of asking why, you just accept it. And that's why the point that you mentioned is it's a confirmation of their failure. And that's what we need to try and move away from. You know, fair enough, you'll make a mistake, but number one, you might acknowledge that actually, you know what? Maybe that wasn't for me, which is fine. You can do that. You can acknowledge that. Or number two, I still have a passion for this. It is my talent, but I need to channel it in a different way. And I need to try and get to my destination in a different way. So I think that's key.
So typically, let's say if I came to you for some support, what are the actual things that you do with me?
You see, being a coach, it's not led by me, it's led by you. So when somebody comes and says, Haseeb, I want some advice, or I want a bit of coaching, or I want a bit of mentoring, I want to discuss my kind of career developments, and I'll say to him, okay, so what do you want? It's probing. The way you're asking me questions, that's exactly what a coach does. You probe that person to determine what is it that you actually want. The answers don't come from me. The answers come from you. So if you're going to sit with me in order to just want answers for what you're going to do in your life, I can't give you that. Only you can give yourself that. What I can do is maybe help you think outside the box a little bit. People who have tunnel vision, perhaps by the probing questions, by my own experience or by my understanding of certain industries or whatever it is, I'm able to then help them think a little bit. So, but what if you did this? But have you ever thought about doing that? What's stopping you from doing this? So these are the type of things when it comes to coaching, because, you need to be able to, number one, understand the person who's in front of you. It's a lot more than, you'll have so many motivational speakers who are online, and you'll listen to them, and it's great, but that's not one-to-one coaching. That's motivation. That will give you a boost, for those next half an hour, 45 minutes, hour, whatever it is, in order to go and achieve, what that task at hand is. So for example, a lot of people, before they'll go into the gym, they'll listen to, kind of really upbeat kind of music or something, and it'll kind of give them a little bit of a boost, get their adrenaline running, and they'll be able to knock out a few extra sets. In the same way, that's what these motivational coaches do, right? One-to-one coaching is completely different because it's a personal relationship. You have a relationship with your coachee, with the person that you're coaching, and that's the key thing, the relationship. That person needs to feel comfortable with you in order to open up to you and understand. And that doesn't come from one session, that comes from multiple sessions. But the end result is phenomenal, because that person begins to understand and believe, I can actually achieve what my dreams are. I can actually achieve what it is that I want to achieve in life. And that's priceless. That is priceless. Giving someone that's priceless.
In recent years, we've seen a lot of activity online. Do you think people get a lot more negativity online than they do positivity? For example, there's a boxer. He's champion of the world. Everybody loves him. Goes to that next fight, gets knocked out by the underdog, and all the hate comments start. So do you think we live in a society, or we have a culture where it's easy to highlight somebody's negatives?
100%. And that's what's wrong with the world, I think, because, instead of supporting someone and giving them reassurance and saying that, don't worry, man, you're going to bounce back. You've had this knockdown. You're going to come back. You're going to be stronger. You're going to be fitter. You're going to be more healthy. You're going to understand. But what happens is that people tend to just focus on one negative. That's why if your own mindset is strong, you don't let that deter you from what your project is, or you don't let that deter you from what your goal in life is. I'll give you an example. When I joined the company that I currently work with, during my workplace, I came in at quite a junior level. And someone said to me, and the jump was massive to go from a junior level to the senior manager post where I'm at the moment. And I had only been there for about 12 months. And I was quite an ambitious person. I came in and I thought, I want to try and determine and see where can I move, where can I progress, and various different things. And someone said to me, forget it, you can't do it. It's not possible for you. That jump is too big. You don't have the experience. You don't have, the ability to. And I'm telling you, someone said that to me, and it knocked me back for a second. I thought, aren't you supposed to be helping me, motivate me, tell me that, you can do it. It's possible for you. And I went back and I thought about it, and I thought, forget it. I said, what have I got to lose? What's the worst they're going to say? No. Is that the worst that they're going to say to me? That you're not going to get it? And I went ahead with it. And, by the grace of God, I got it. And when I got it, I had someone say to me, because, predominantly what you find in working in majority of organizations is there's a lack of BAME representation at senior level. And somebody then said to me, Muslim, big beard, brown, tick box.
I thought you were going to say something else.
That as well. But that box is ticked. That, we stuck a brown person in there, Muslim and beard, that's probably an addition. He's part of that kind of senior level management and all that kind of stuff. Good for the photos and all that kind of stuff. And I think that comment hurt me the most. And I'll tell you why, because I said, you didn't look at how hard I worked. You didn't look at, all of the additional responsibilities, all the additional things that I did, the self-motivation that I had to do in order to even apply for it in the first place, because it was a bit of a shot in the dark, do you know what I mean? But rather, you just looked at, you didn't get it because of your hard work. You didn't get it because of, your achievements or your ability, but you got it because you're a brown man with a beard. And, the organization wants to tick a box. And that was a lesson for me, And that lesson was that you never let anyone, and I'm saying anyone, tell you that you can't do it. And you never let anyone's opinions, become your reality. And that for me was so important, because if he turned around and if I turned around and said, actually, probably right, where would I be today? I'd probably be sulking and I'd be like, oh, I didn't even deserve this, or, this is for that reason. Self-pity, exactly. So I didn't, you can't let that become who you are. And I think that's so important when you're coaching people and you're telling them and you're trying to advise them that, this is what it is. But like I said at the very beginning, it's how our minds have been programmed. Our minds have been programmed to not go outside your comfort zone. You see what I'm saying? So when you are, I don't know, how can I give an example? If you're climbing to the top of a mountain, right? And you're scared of heights, what's going to happen? Your heart's going to be beating. Your thoughts are going to be running at 100 miles an hour. And you're going to be like, I can't do it, right? That's your mind and your brain telling you, you're red alert here. You're stepping outside your comfort zone. You're programmed to not do that. But we have to reprogram it to say that I am able to do it. I can motivate myself and I'm able to do it within reason. And I think the caveat of within reason is really important as well, because, you have to be realistic. You have to have realism at the end of the day, and not come up with ridiculous things in terms of where you want to be and what you want to do. And I'm not saying that, for example, a lot of people say, I want to earn £10 million in one year. Am I saying it's impossible? I'm not saying it's impossible. Am I saying, is it realistic based on where we are at the moment in terms of what we're doing and in terms of where you are in your life and how you want to progress and the infancy of your business and various different things? Probably not. But your target is 10 million. How can we get there? And that's what it is. And that's what it comes down to. How can we take that person to that level? Having goals, aspirations. And I say this to everyone. And I'll say this to the listeners as well. If you have not written down your goals, forget it. Don't think that you're going to have success in your life. Why is there a top 10%? And I guarantee you that top 10% at some point within their life, they wrote down, these are my goals. This is what I want to achieve. And they wrote it down. And I say, write it down on your mirror. Every time you wake up in the morning, you have to know what your why is. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I working a 9 to 5? Why am I starting a business? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? Why do I want these kind of... Your why has to be so big, and it has to be bigger than you. So I would say, remember that your why of why you want to succeed in life, that has to be bigger than you. Why? Because we give up on ourselves all the time. That's the thing. We cannot give up on... We give up on ourselves, but your why has to be bigger than that. I'll give you an example. My children. As a father, you'll never give up on them. And no father will ever give up on his children. So that becomes your why. I want to be able, or my mother, or my father, or my parents, my sisters. I'd rather, have an impact on myself rather than other people. So your why has to be something which is bigger than you. If that why is bigger than you, you'll never give up on it. People go into business, or they become entrepreneurs, or become high-paid employees, and they have goals and visions. And I wrote a post to blog about this, that I was coaching this young lad, and he said to me that I said to him, so why do you want to be successful? Why do you want to become a millionaire? Millionaire is what everybody wants to become these days. Why do you want to become a millionaire? And he said, I want to buy a Lamborghini. And he said that, and I said, is that going to bring you happiness? And he said, yeah. And he was a fairly young lad. And he said, yeah, it's going to bring me happiness. I'm going to be happy because I got a Lamborghini. And I said, what else do you want? He said, I want a big house. I want a mansion. I want my own gym in there, and I want my own, whatever it is that people want, swimming pool or however it is. I said, wow, okay. And is that going to make you happy? And he goes, yeah, if I've got my car and I've got my yard, I'm done. I don't need nothing else. I said, okay. So let's say you get that Lamborghini. Let's say you get that big house. What happens when a shinier, prettier, faster Lamborghini pulls up next to you? You say, I'm probably going to want that as well. I says, what are you going to do when you go to your millionaire friends who are doing better than you, and you go to their house, but their house has got 3 swimming pools? What are you going to do then? Because I'd probably want to, and it became this competition. This competition that, I have to be able to do better than the next man. I have to be able to get a bigger yard than him. I have to be able to get a faster car than him. People compete in material things rather than competing to better themselves. And it comes down to happiness, doesn't it? What is your sole purpose and what is your goal? My mentor, my sheikh, my teacher, he's done a series of lectures on happiness and how to attain happiness. And he said something really amazing. Sheikh Saqib from Birmingham. And he said something so profound, which really hit my heart. And as a coach, I was able to take that away and spread that message to so many different people. And he said, unless you can pick up happiness and put it in your current situation, you'll never be happy in any other situation. If I drive a small car, unless I can pick up happiness and put it in my small car and be happy in there, only then will I be happy when I buy a bigger car. But if I'm not happy in my small car, believe you me, I will never be happy in my expensive car or in my fast car, my Lamborghini Ferrari. Why? Something faster, something prettier, something more luxurious is going to come up, and it's just going to shift. So people think happiness comes in material gains. It doesn't. Freedom of time is what people want, right? Freedom of health, meaning that, people want to be able to be healthy in their life, eat healthy, eat good, etc. and so forth. And people think that money is the object, and money is the only thing that's going to give it to you. It's not. Some ignorant people say that, and you may have heard this as well, and a lot of these motivational coaches online, they say that I'd rather cry in my BMW than cry on the bus. I'd rather be sad. I don't know whether you've heard that before. I'd rather be sad in my BMW than be sad sitting on a bus. And that really annoys me. That really upsets me, because that's a very common statement which is made by some successful people. All that's telling people is, it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to be depressed. But as long as you got a BMW, it's all right. Do you get what I'm saying? So
the core problem is you're sad.
The core problem is you're sad. You're not curing your sadness. You're not curing your anxiety or your depression or whatever it is by buying a material thing. For a momentary moment, yes, you will. Yeah? But, ask anyone. You buy a new car. How long will it always put a smile on your face? Come on, there's going to be a moment where you're going to be, I'm a bit bored now. Right? And you're going to look for something else. Why? Because that contentment, that happiness isn't in your heart. You see what I'm saying? So that's really important, that material things, money, if you believe that money will give you happiness, you'll always be sad. And that's what it comes down to. That doesn't mean that you don't work hard. It doesn't mean that you don't try and better yourself, because that's all self-development. That's investing in yourself. And I said recently that self-investment is your greatest asset. How long or how many people actually take the time to study themselves? Who am I? What's my purpose? What am I here to do? Yeah, and you can look at that from a spiritual, religious aspect, or you can look at that in terms of where your career is or where your business is. And that's another thing I'll say, that, a lot of these people, they say that, people who work 9 to 5, they're losers and they're, this, that, the other. These people are some of the most hardworking people that you'll ever find. That doesn't mean that you don't aspire to become a business. Business isn't for everyone. Yeah? It's not for everyone. Some people are comfortable doing their 9 to 5 and working and whatever. Business has many, many, benefits. But don't take notice of these jokers that you see on Instagram and these jokers that you see on here, holding wads of cash and telling people I'm flying in helicopters or I'm driving Lamborghinis just to make you feel as though that you're going to be happy. And that was one of the main motivators for me to kind of come on the scene and say that, break away from this. That wad of cash that you're seeing, a lot of the time it's not even theirs. People are faking it till they make it. And that for me is, we need to wake up, come to our senses. That what is the higher purpose? What is it that I'm supposed to be doing here? And the moment you can understand that, and you understand what your purpose in life is, and you unlock what your talent is, right? Talent discovery is something which I work on with people. Understand, what is your talent? What are you good at? Right? I'll give you an example. If someone was to say to me, I know what my talents are. I've got a talent and I've got a passion for speaking, for coaching, for presentations, I've got I like buying and selling. I like doing all these kind of things, right? It's something which I find it's a talent of mine. If someone was to say to me, Haseeb, go and become a professional skateboarder, it's not possible. Because it's not my talent. It's not something that I have an interest in. And I say this to parents all the time. Understand what your child's talent is and go with that. And I think that is something which is so important. Unlock what his talent is. See, what does he like doing? He likes building, or he likes playing with blocks, and he likes, the idea of creating things. Maybe architecture is something for him. Maybe building is for him. Not every person has to become a doctor, lawyer, dentist, or optometrist, or whatever it is. So talent discovery is so important.
You know, with talent, what are we looking for when, let's say, somebody's between the age of 2 and 6 or 6 and 10? I don't know if you can categorize it like that. What are the early signs of talent? How do we notice, recognize? Because a lot of people are probably not recognizing talent because they don't have that same upbringing or the opportunity to express their own talent. Mm-hmm. For example, let's say I'm a young person. From the age of 12 to 20, my parents said, you're going to become a doctor, you're going to become a doctor. They're basically, you know, feeding me medical books, medical programs, things like that. If they've done that to me all my life, when I'm older, I'm potentially going to do the same thing to my child. So how would I go about the talent discovery? What advice have you got for parents, teachers, mentors?
Everything leads back to this. You know, if you can understand your mind and how it works, and you can control it, meaning that you can control the thoughts, you know, the way that your mind works. And in terms of, you know, what happens here comes out here, basically. You know, it's like a chain reaction. Some people can put a brake on it. Some people can't. And my advice would always be is you have to spend time. Time is number one, right? You have to spend time with them to understand them. Okay? And time doesn't mean that you want them to become what you want them to be. Time means, let's try and find out what that person's good at. Let's check a football in the room. Is he interested in kicking the ball? Or is he interested in throwing it? Maybe he likes basketball, right? Maybe, you can tell by the way he is in terms of, is he a confident person? Is the child confident? If the child is confident, then perhaps you can look at certain things and certain areas, or you can look at certain classes and courses to develop the confidence of a child, right? You know, you're the biggest role model for your children. And that goes without saying. You know, they will follow in your footsteps. Whatever you do, your child will follow. Therefore, it's important that you give the child an opportunity to explore themselves a little bit. Yeah? You know, let them do what they need to do to explore. You know, as a child, your sensory development is beginning. So your sense of touch, your understanding of if I open the tap and I open it full blast, water's going to splash everywhere. They understand the concept of opening, and they understand the concept of some things you have to open a little bit, some things you have to open a lot. Otherwise, there's a cause and effect. And the cause and effect is, if I open this a lot, lots of water is going to splash out. Okay? And the same thing is, if I open it a little bit, that's enough for me to wash my hands or wash my face or whatever it is. So there's little things, there are courses, there are things that we can work with for parents to actually help to discover the talents of their children. It's a lot of it is kind of sensory development in terms of helping the child understand what their senses are. And then slowly, as they grow older, like you said, between 2 and 6, you know, at the age of 2 years old, they've probably just started walking, or they've probably been walking for a bit, and, you know, they're a bit wild, terrible twos. They don't want to listen to anyone. So, you know, they're a bit wild. But again, it comes down to your parenting. Quality time is what you need. Quality time is what you need to give people. That's the key, I think. I think a lot of the time, we don't spend enough time with our children in order to help them discover what they want to discover. And that only happens if we're willing to do it for ourselves. Yeah? If you're not willing to do it yourself for your own self-discovery, I don't think you'll be able to do it for your child.
See, I can relate to that from a coaching point of view, because number one, time. Most athletes, when they're really developing the skills or the attitude towards the sport or the attitude to life generally, is when you have that one-to-one interaction. And one of the key spaces in a boxing environment is on the pads. When you're just in that personal space with somebody and you'll give them direct instructions, and they're seeing the effect of the instructions on every punch, on every movement, on every defense, and that constant confirmation and praise. That's a great shot. That's a brilliant shot. Come on, champ. These things really drill home into their minds, and you can see in the attitude. They'll come out with a smile. They'll come out of the session working harder on the next exercise. Whatever you've given them there in the ring, it's transition from the ring to the punch bag to shadow boxing to paired work, ultimately to the environment or the arena where they're going to box and compete. So having that constant time, I think is really precious. The second thing about discovery, there's actually a concept in sport generally called the discovery phase, where you target the younger audience and you basically give them an open platform within reason to go away and exercise or demonstrate skills, techniques, exercises they enjoy. And from that, as a coach, you learn what they're good at, what they're confident with, what they're not so good at, what they need a bit of brushing up with. And just generally you get to know them better as an athlete. And it's like an athlete-centered approach. So I relate to the discovery phase, and I relate to people trying new things and trying different skills. I could coach a boxer how to block a jab in 3 or 4 different ways, but they might invent their own way of doing it. Now look, on paper, it might not be what I need to coach them according to the rules, the regulations, the structure of the sport. But if it works for them, that little bit of freedom, why not? For example, I'll give you an example that you can relate to Prince Naseem. No boxing coach in the world can coach what Prince Naseem did in the boxing ring, but he was world champion. He beat all the best fighters. And the most amazing thing that people don't realize about Prince Naseem, he did everything under pressure with a smile on his face. So I think role models are there within sport and outside of sport. On the subject of role models, I think you mentioned one person already, your sheikh, your religious spiritual teacher. What's the importance of role models in life?
Role model is so important. You know, that for me is essential. Number one, I can look at it as a father.
So can I just say big up to all the dads out there that don't normally get credits here, superheroes in their own right.
Definitely. Do you know what I mean? And
sorry to interject.
No worries.
I had to get that point in
You
there.
have to, man. Look,
I'm not a parent myself, so there's no bias here.
Because you look, do you know what it is? And they're doing a great job. You know, a lot of unfortunately, a lot of fathers, they feel a strain. You know, our wives, mothers, you know, there's no comparison, and you know, it's not a competition, right? What they were able to achieve and what they can achieve, it's beyond belief. You know, for example, I could never do what my wife does on a daily basis. I could never do it, you know, because it's a skill set, isn't it? She's got her own skill set. I've got my own skill set. There's certain things I can do that she can't do. There's certain things she can do that I can't do. And that's okay. And for fathers, you know, fathers have, you know, this additional responsibility that I'm the breadwinner. You know, I'm the person who's going to bring it in, and you know, the responsibilities on my shoulders. I want the best thing for my children, and I want this, that, the other. But you know, that pressure can get a lot for fathers, and sometimes a bit of praise, like you said, is so important. That don't worry, man. You're doing a great job. You're doing really well. They're not going hungry, are they? They've got a roof over their head. And that's important. And, you know, you go back to role models. Your first ever role model are your parents, right? And I know this as a father now. You know, I am my son's role model. You know, he follows, you know, alhamdulillah, I've got two boys, and, you know, they follow me around. They do everything that I do.
They want to be just like you.
They want to be just like you because, you know, you're the only one that they see as he's big, he's tall, you know, he can lift heavy things, you know, like things like shopping and all the, you know, little things. So they think, oh my God, you know, I want to be just like him. So you become the first role model. So you yourself are actually a role model for your children. But that's a separate thing. We can go into that a little bit later on. But I think generally speaking, you know, role models are extremely important. You need to have someone to look up to. And whether that's your parents, if you're a religious person, you know, whether that's a religious figure in your life. And for me, my role model, you know, is is our Prophet, peace be upon him, and sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he is the greatest role model that a person can ever have. Honesty, integrity, passion, business sense, everything, beauty. He was the most beautiful person. And you know, it's understanding about his life and learning from it. And then your next role model are those people who tell you about him. Right? So for me, that's my sheikh. That's my teacher. That's my guide. You know, I've known him best part of 10 years. And, you know, he has transformed my life and the life of hundreds of thousands of other people. That's no exaggeration. And you need those positive influences in your life, you know, in order to better yourself. You need someone to guide you sometimes. You know, sometimes you get a mental block and you're just stuck in life. You just don't know what to do. And you just need someone who's there. And you know, when we talk at it from a spiritual perspective, you know, subhanAllah, it's spirituality is the key.
Let's go on to your business. What do you do with your business then? So you've obviously got a side hustle.
Yeah. Everyone needs to have a side hustle.
I don't know why people call it a side hustle.
I don't know either, man. But
sounds ghetto.
It sounds gangster, innit? So yeah, I got a side hustle.
Okay, so tell us what it is.
So that is so my business is basically in Islamic clothing and accessories. So my business, I've got a business partner as well, and we work in we specialize in Moroccan thobes.
Just to break it down.
Yeah. What's
a thobe?
A thobe is
because people are going to watch these.
So they are going to watch it and they're not going to know. You're right. Yeah. So thobe is actually the English term. But it's an Islamic dress, which is from it's like a one piece which goes down to your ankles. It's very modest wear, and it's a.
Can you compare it to something?
Ooh, I don't know, man.
Is it like Gandalf's cloak?
Yeah, I say it's like Gandalf's cloak.
The Lord of the Rings fans out there. So you said Moroccan. So what's the key point about being the Moroccan thobe? Are they like the Rolls Royce of thobes? Or?
Yeah, you know what it is. It's one of those. They're very striking and they're quite unique in their appearance. So you know, they're striped colors. They're nice. Do you know what I'm saying? And you know, it was something where we got into it, and then now we've just expanded into so many different things. We design our own thobes now, and we've got manufacturers. We import from 4 or 5 different countries. So the idea behind our business was it becomes a one-stop kind of shop where if you wanted something from Egypt, right? So we've got Egyptian shawls and other things. You'll find it in our shop. If you wanted things from Turkey, whatever is common, they're Turkish prayer jackets, whether it's, Ertugrul's a massive thing at the moment, the hats and all this kind of stuff, key rings, memorabilia, you can get it from my shop. If you wanted something from Pakistan or India or Kashmir, we've got Kashmiri shawls and we've got various other things. And so, it was a one-stop shop where people wouldn't have to kind of go to all these various different countries. And they're difficult things to find anyway. So to source them has been a real challenge. But, alhamdulillah, we've been able to do it, and we've been able to kind of, set up wholesaling, and, it's one of those things. Is it where I want it to be at the moment? Absolutely not. Am I just getting started? Absolutely yes. That's the thing with people that, don't think that, you have to have an overnight success straight away. We've struggled. It was really hard at the beginning. COVID almost killed us because all of our supply chains, and this is me being open and honest, I've got nothing to hide. All of our supply chains had stopped. So for months and months, and within that time came Eid, which is our busiest month, right? The month before and the month of Eid. The month of Ramadan, sorry. That is our busiest time. And there's no stop. What do you do? So that was when we started getting to know some other suppliers who were still able, from different countries we hadn't even touched before.
Going out your comfort zone. Something you said
zone,
earlier.
Man. We had to design our own stuff. I think, well, if we can't get it from our normal suppliers because of what happened with COVID and the pandemic, we'll design our own stuff and we'll get it made. So, you have to keep trying.
When we end, we ask the guest to end.
So this story it's really quite an effective story, and it's all about what we were talking about, that, don't give up, because you don't know when that opportunity is going to come knocking on your door, right? I remember I heard this story from the director of the company that I work with, and it really kind of quite resonated with me. And I thought, wow, you know what? It's actually quite a bit of sense in here. The moral is really nice. There's a carpenter, right? And he was fantastic at his craft, brilliant. He was a builder, carpenter, whatever, right? And for his employer, he had built thousands of homes. He was now getting to the end of his career. He was ready to retire. And he had enough, and he said, look, I'm done now. I just want to finish my work and, go home and all this kind of stuff. And he tells his employer and says, look, I'm going to hand in my resignation. I'm ready to retire and whatever. Employer, his boss says to him, he said, look, just build me one last house. He goes, look, I can't do it. I can't be bothered. It's not possible for me to do. I'm done. I've built you all these thousands of houses, right? How can I, carry on with this? He says, look, just build me one last house. That's it. I just want one last house, and then you carry on with your life. Anyways, after much reluctance, he agreed to build the house. So he starts building it. Foundation's not that strong. Couldn't be bothered to mix it properly. Walls are a bit bent and a bit wonky, and the windows weren't in straight and whatever. He did a real cowboy job, real botch job, right? Anyways, he built the house, and whatever its condition was, wasn't his best work at all. He goes back to his boss and he goes, look, here's the keys. Here's that last house, right? His boss takes the keys, hands them back to him, and says to him, that house was for you. And at that moment, he thought to himself, well, you can imagine what he thought to himself.
Mr. Train here.
And that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. You don't know when the opportunity is going to come. So you have to give 110% always. You're going to have off days. That happens, right? But that should not affect your work ethic.